नमस्कार मित्रा, मी सर्वांचं स्वागत चालाकी रीड बिटवीन द लाईन्स वर करतो. My जन्मभूमी and कर्मभूमी, which means the place I am born and the place I work is in Mumbai, Maharashtra. Therefore, by that logic, I am a thoroughbred Maharashtrian. From the days of Congress leaders dominating politics, with Sharad Pawar transcending all upheavals of party politics, using his acumen to remain relevant in Maharashtra politics for well over 40 years and counting, the rise and fall of union leaders like Datta Samant, the Deputy Commissioner of BMC, G.R. Kherna, who was the anti-corrupt missile for most politicians and real estate mafia, to the rise of Bal Thackeray's Shiv Sena and the split with Raj Thackeray, who formed Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, and now the fall of Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena at the hands of Eknath Shinde, the current Chief Minister and the claimant of legacy of Bal Thackeray's Shiv Sena, and by that effect Hindutva. You see, we have all been reading news of how BJP has exacted revenge from Shiv Sena for breaking their Gathbandhan and joining hands with Congress and NCP for grabbing the Chief Ministership in Maharashtra. Shiv Sena claimed they were promised 2.5 years of CM-ship by BJP in the last elections, which the BJP have refuted, and therefore they chose to go with the other two parties. Mahavikas Aghadi, the formation created by Shiv Sena, Congress and the NCP, seemed to be the most unnatural Gathbandhan since they had been pointedly opposed to each other's ideology as long as one can remember. And then to join hands for the sake of coming into power was itself a disastrous way to begin with. To Uddhav Thackeray's credit, he did manage to hold the government together and cannot be denied the credit for making solid attempt of containing COVID casualties and disasters. Then what is the problem? अब थोड़ा deep चलते हैं. To start with, Eknath Shinde and the rebels, 40 out of 55 today, now the majority, have claimed that Uddhav has compromised the ideals of Bala Saheb's Hindutva and joined the secular bandwagon only for his power greed. This is the core value system which confused and eventually destroyed rank and file of the Shiv Senics. In the NVA, NCP held more sway over the state's finances, and the Shiv Sena's MLAs were getting frustrated since their constituencies were not getting the promised funds. Uddhav, apart from being an introvert, also created a wall of cronies around him to become less approachable by his own MLCs and MLAs, who basically run the engine of the government, mobilize Senics on the ground, and can give valuable insights on issues to be tackled with and elections to be won. On the other side, BJP's Fadnavis and Chandrakant Patil had recognized this opportunity early on. They had started garnering support and were in conversation with the rebels for over a year now. Well, then the cross-voting became evident in the Maharashtra MLC polls held on June 20th this year, and eventually all hell broke loose. The rebels revolted openly against the party high command and left for Guwahati via Surat with their leader Eknath Shinde. So now let's get to the point. Why is this happening now and what will be the after effects of this? Let's explore. A. BMC, the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, is the cash cow of the Maharashtra government. It generates approximately 30,000 crore rupees every year. You heard that right. It has been with Shiv Sena for almost 3 decades now. But elections coming up in September or October 2022, this was a right moment for the rebels to revolt and take power so the new government, namely the BJP-led one, can win the BMC elections this time. Point number B. Apart from Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh, whose elections are in 2022, there are 9 states that go into elections in 2023. The narrative of BJP and Prime Minister Modi, double engine ki sarkar, which means BJP government in center as well as the state will give you fantastic results, is getting reinforced day by day by this move. Our PM has been announcing this in many of his rallies wherever elections are coming up. Point number C, the biggest benefit is that with Eknath Shinde becoming the CM, Amit Shah has beaten Sharad Pawar at his own game. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Let me explain. 1. The Shiv Sena is divided and decimated since the public perception is that BJP obviously ceded power to Eknath Shinde to show solidarity towards continuity and stability in the government, unlike the power-hungry Thakres. And the BJP now controls the major chunk of the government machinery, which it will use to its advantage in the coming BMC and assembly elections, with Eknath Shinde and company, who are the smaller parties in the government, having no choice but to toe the line. It gets even more interesting. Let's discuss what other parties have to gain or lose. Booth level Shiv Sainiks have to go through this transformation, so the fight between Uddhav's Shiv Sena and Eknath's Shiv Sena is far from over. Point number 2. NCP sees vacuum in Shiv Sena leadership. So they will want to increase their influence. Therefore, the future of MVA with defeated Sena and lazy Congress will fire up with Sharad Pawar for sure. Point number C. Raj Thakre and his Maharashtra Navnirman Sena have become relevant suddenly, since they are closest to Shiv Sena ideology and anti-Uddhav sentiment, and become natural partners to Eknath Shiv Sena. This relationship will define the Maharashtra politics in the coming years. Mark my words, there are political pundits who claim that the only other regional player, the NCP, will disintegrate after the Supremo Sharad Pawar, since there will be factions there too. Last point. Congress can barely hang on to Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh and has to find a new ray of light to rise from the dead. Therefore, they are of no consequence in Maharashtra. Now finally, let's talk about BJP. You will notice BJP already getting Eknath to announce the overturn of decisions of the previous government, namely Metro Shed at RA Goregaon, or the reduction of state value-added tax or VAT on diesel and petrol prices. This move is one of many where they will make the decisions, but the onus will be on Eknath Shinde and his Shiv Sainiks. Master stroke, isn't it? हम तो मुंबई कर हैं भाई. Riots, bomb blasts, floods, petrol and real estate prices don't affect us. If you slap us on one cheek, we will offer you another. That is the popular, infamous Mumbai spirit, correct? Jai Maharashtra.